is Hinduism about? What are its concepts? What are its practices? What does Hinduism have to say about other religions? I'll touch on these in the context of giving you a framework that I hope will help you understand broadly what Hinduism is, and will also give you a way in which to assimilate what you already know about Hinduism and what you will learn about Hinduism in the next day, months, or years. Now, Hinduism, of course, is a very vast subject, and there are many ways of getting into it. The one way which I like is to ask the question, what is it that everybody in the universe wants? Now, you can get answers like money, fame, power, and so on. But really, all of those are fine as long as we think they're going to make us happy. So the real answer really is, what is it that everybody in the universe wants is happiness. Now imagine the sages in India many thousands of years ago asking the question, why is it that everybody wants to be happy, but few people succeed? You can be happy some of the time, but is it possible to be happy all the time? Now, surprisingly, the answer they came to was, yes, it is possible. How? Well, I'll take you to the deep end first, which is the entire universe is nothing but pure consciousness that is eternal and blissful. The Hindu scriptures have given a symbol for this, which is the sound Om. Now, Om represents pure consciousness that is eternal and blissful, and it's all pervasive, which means you, I, everyone is pure consciousness and should be blissful. Well, then how come I am miserable? The reason, according to the Hindu sages, is we're miserable because we have forgotten who we are. In reality, our essence is pure consciousness and blissful, but we have forgotten that. Well, the remedy for forgetting is remembering. But how do we remember it? The sages, again, in their meditation, came to the conclusion that if our minds are clear and calm, we will automatically recognize the divinity within us. Just as if a lake, imagine a lake and the surface is calm, no ripples, the water is pure, clear, you can see the bottom of the lake. In the same way, if our mind is clear and calm, we will directly be able to recognize our own divinity and understand that if we connect with that, we can be blissful and rise above sorrow in the world. So consider this as being the goal of Hinduism, which is to connect with the divinity which is within us, and to do so by developing a clear and calm mind. Everything in Hinduism, everything can be explained in terms of its capacity to help somebody develop a clear and calm mind, or at least make their mind less unclear and less uncalm. So here is the goal. Connect with the divinity, realize our own blissful nature, and do so by developing a clear and calm mind. Well, how do we do that? Now, that's the spiritual journey that Hinduism is about. And any journey will start from where you are. Now, making money, having fun is fine, provided you do so with a clear and calm mind. And how do we do that? The first step in the spiritual journey is an ethical foundation. Make money, don't cheat people. Have fun, don't hurt people. So this ethical foundation in Hinduism is called dharma. The root meaning of the word dharma is to uphold, to sustain, to protect. It's a very vast concept, to sustain. Sustain what? Sustain me as an individual, sustain my family, sustain my community, sustain my country, sustain humanity, sustain the world, its ecology, the cosmos. It's very, very elastic concept. And it's difficult to grasp. So our scriptures have helped us by identifying a few qualities that are absolutely fundamental in the pursuit of dharma. They are, 1, ahimsa, don't hurt, which really means act with love. 2nd, satya, be truthful, which means integrity to who you are. And brahmacharya, which means non-indulgence, self-discipline, sort of not going overboard in the things that we do in this world. These 3 fundamental qualities, and of course there's many, 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 many more. The interesting thing about dharma is that it is not a set of laws, it's not a set of commandments. They're nuanced guidelines because they're contextual. My dharma is not the same as somebody else's dharma because we are in different social contexts. One may be a teacher, one may be a student. My dharma today is not the same as my dharma tomorrow, perhaps, because I may be in a different context tomorrow. So, dharma is something that we have to figure out ourselves in each context. And that's why a lot of Hindu scriptures deal with this question of dharma. How to decide what is ethical in a particular situation. Well, as I said, that's a big subject. We'll move on. The next step in the spiritual journey is selfless service. Realize the joy that comes in giving rather than in getting. And this in the spiritual literature is called karma yoga. Notice the word yoga. Here yoga is regarded as a bunch of exercises. Not so. It's actually really a very profound concept in Hindu philosophy, which means union. Union of what? Union of me with my own nature, with the divine within me. And that, whatever it is that helps me unite with the divinity within me, is a yoga. Karma means action. So karma yoga means how to approach action in a way that helps me unite with the divinity within me. What does this mean in practice? First, it means do your duty. Whatever your duty is, figure it out and do it without any fuss. Second, do something because it's the right thing to do rather than looking for a particular result of that for me. Third, whatever you do something, do it as an offering to God. Do it as an offering to society, to God, as a way of helping society at large. Fourth, recognize that whatever capacity I have to do anything at all is a gift of God. So do something recognizing that, which means act as an instrument of God. Now, these are progressively more difficult levels of karma yoga, but the first two, do your duty and do something without focus on the fruit of that action, but focus on the action itself. That is karma yoga. Now we have taken 2 steps on the spiritual journey towards getting a clear and calm mind. What's next? Now here is really a genius aspect of Hinduism, which is to recognize that people are different. We all have different strengths, weaknesses, likes, dislikes, preferences. So why should everybody be required to have exactly the same spiritual path? Why not have different paths suited to different temperaments, different kinds of people? So, I'm going to talk here about 3 major paths, spiritual paths. There are many more, but I will talk here about the 3 main ones. The first one I will talk about is called Raja Yoga, which is a path that teaches you how to meditate. So it's a technical path that takes you from where you are to a state of meditation. Now, this path was defined most succinctly and summarized actually by a sage Patanjali in the 2nd century BC in a text called the Yoga Sutras. And in it, he describes this as having 8 steps. The first 2 steps are ethical steps, pretty close to what we have called dharma here. The third is physical postures, which is what most people here regard as yoga. The fourth is breathing exercises. And then come a series of steps that help to focus the mind, train it in concentration, and train it to meditate and to be absorbed in the divinity that it is meditating on. Now, that path is a technical path and requires consistent practice, which means that one has to be physically fit and have a lifestyle that is disciplined. You can't go to the disco in the evening and do this Raja Yoga in the morning. So it's a disciplined lifestyle. Not everybody has that. Well, another path is called Jnana Yoga, which is the path of knowledge. Now, this path involves the study of scriptures. Scriptures in Hinduism is a very broad subject again. It's not a single book. It's a whole bunch of books. And depending on the particular path, spiritual path that you are on, there are different books that you would be looking at. For the path of knowledge, people look at the Vedas and the Upanishads. Upanishads are philosophical treatises that talk about who we are, what is our connection with the world, what is our connection with the divine higher being. So one studies these texts, understand it, think deeply about it, debate it, resolve doubts, and then practice it. That is the path of knowledge. And with that, the mind is trained so that it's automatically in a state of meditation to get to a clear and calm mind. Well, this requires obviously a lot of intellectual stamina and a mind that is subtle enough to be able to grasp the kinds of arguments and the kinds of logic and the kinds of statements that are made in the Upanishads. Not everybody has that. So if you don't have the physical fitness and lifestyle for Raja Yoga, you don't have the intellectual stamina and subtlety required for Jnana Yoga, what do you do? The third path is called Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. This is open to everybody. It's a very simply defined path. Rest your mind and heart in God. Well, anybody can do that. It's easier said than done. So the scriptures have lots of discussions of how to cultivate devotion. The nice thing, as I said, is there are no prerequisites. But there is a question of if you're going to rest your mind and heart in God, what God are we talking about? Now, in Hinduism, there's a variety of ways in which divinity is conceived. In the philosophical paths, one thinks of divinity in a very abstract way. Pure consciousness, that's Om. This is no form, no attributes. It's infinite, all-pervasive, pure consciousness. Now, if it's infinite, it cannot have any attributes because, if you have an attribute of being long, it means you're not short. So anything that is pure, that is truly infinite, has to be free of attributes. Now, if it's free of attributes, the mind can't get there. And it's very difficult to rest your mind and heart in something as abstract as Brahman or Om. Well, another level, Ishvara. Ishvara has attributes. All-knowing, all-powerful, present everywhere, present in us, present in the whole universe as the controller of the universe. So in meditation, it's possible to meditate on this concept of Ishvara. And it's still true that Ishvara does not have a form. But in meditation, the mind is sort of opened up to an abstraction. But still, you can't rest your mind and heart in something like that. The third way in which Hindus conceive of divinity is a more personal form, one where people can connect at a personal level and truly rest your mind and heart in God. How do you do that? By relating to a particular form. Because the mind requires a form in order to be able to connect. We carry pictures of our loved ones in our wallets for that reason. And with the form comes a personality. So in Hindu scriptures, there are many, many descriptions of a variety of forms of God. And each of these forms has a personality, has stories, and when you know somebody's story, you feel more intimate with that person. And this is how devotion helps you to get to a clear and calm mind. By having a developing this close personal connection with a particular form of God, and letting the mind dwell on that form, and in doing so, the mind reaches a meditative state and goes to a clear and calm mind. Now, in order to do this, what the Hindu sages have found is that it's very helpful to actually have a tangible form. So, this tangible form is called a murti, and in worship and in prayer, you have the murti. It's a particular sculpted image or a photograph. The mind can focus on that image. It stays without distraction and takes the mind to a meditative state. Now notice that although there are many, many forms of God, there is only one supreme being. So Hindus worship one supreme being who can appear in many forms. So the whole distinction of discussion of whether Hinduism is polytheistic, monotheistic, and so on doesn't make too much sense. I mean, these are ways in which Hindus conceive of divinity that goes beyond all of these labels that people wish to attach. So the path of knowledge, the path of meditation, the path of devotion all lead to a meditative state, and through that to a clear and calm mind. And when you have a clear and calm mind, you automatically connect with the divinity within, and that realizes your blissful nature. So this is a summary of what Hinduism is about. Now notice, in all of this, at no stage have I said that there is such and such that you absolutely have to believe in order to be on this path of Hinduism. There is no doctrine, there is no proposition that Hindus must believe in order to be called Hindu. It's a seeking religion. It's a religion that seeks the truth, seeks answers to who we are and how we can connect with each other, with the world, and with the divinity that is our source. And the answers to that constitute the spiritual goal and the practice of Hinduism. Notice also that because there is no doctrine, it's easy for Hindus to connect with other religions. Because we don't have a particular doctrine that we need to be wedded to. So I can worship in a mosque or in a temple or in a synagogue or a gurdwara because I am able to connect with the divinity in whatever form that divinity chooses to manifest itself. So we don't have no problem with worshipping in other houses of worship. What does upset Hindus, though, is when another religion says that we have an exclusive path and that is the only way in which one can get salvation. That sort of exclusivity is what upsets a lot of Hindus. Another thing to notice here is that this is a very difficult path. There's lots of steps, and each of these is actually a very complicated and difficult one to master given our nature and given the way in which we are wired. So, recognize that this can take a long time. And in Hinduism, you're allowed a long time. There are many, many lifetimes. You don't have to complete this whole journey in one lifetime. Many lifetimes are available. And at each lifetime, when you finish, you come to a particular point in this life. The next life you begin where you left off. And then, of course, you have the opportunity to go forward or backward depending on what you do. And that's why this whole spiritual journey can take a long time. But the nice thing is, everybody will get there in the end. It may take a long time, but everyone gets there. And it is open to anybody who wishes to practice this particular path. Something I've not talked about here is the law of karma. What we do in each lifetime has an impact not only on this lifetime but in future lifetimes as well. So the law of karma says whatever I do now has an effect in the future, either soon or in some future life. Which means that therefore whatever I am experiencing now has come from something that I have done in the past, either in this life or in some previous life. So this is a complete accountability for whatever I do. I can't do something and just say, I'm sorry and forget about it. No, I have to take the consequence. What this means is we have full accountability, but it also means that whatever happens to me, I accept because I know it is something that I myself am responsible for. So if something happens and I find no explanation for it, it's probably something I've done in my previous life. So we are able to accept sorrows, difficulties, calamities that are difficult to explain. At the same time, what I do now affects my destiny in the future. So whatever calamity I have today, I have to deal with it skillfully and in the best way possible, because that is what creates my destiny for the future. So it's a very good incentive system for me to accept what's happening to me, while at the same time doing my very best to to create a good destiny for myself in future lives. So this is what I can present to you as a very elementary framework to understand what Hinduism is about. We've talked about the goal, which is to connect with the divinity that is within us, which is blissful. You do that by having a clear and calm mind. And we've talked about the process of developing a clear and calm mind systematically, first of all through an ethical foundation, selfless service, and then a variety of paths which is available or depending on different temperaments. These are not mutually exclusive paths. You can do one and then the other and mix them and match them in whichever way you like. And the bottom line is to work to transform the mind so that we can see divinity everywhere. Divinity in ourselves, divinity in everyone else, divinity in all living beings, divinity in the whole world. And that goal is something which is what Hinduism has stated as the goal of spiritual practice. And all of the Hindu scriptures and practices and philosophy are all designed to help us understand what this goal is and to make progress towards it. Thank you.